I've seen the whole first season of the new Spider-Man show. Big changes confirmed at Xbox, and it looks like more bumpy days ahead for Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let's go. How's it going, everybody? I'm Victor Lucas. Let's get started with your rundown, and we're going to kick it off with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. This is the first Spider-Man show from Marvel Animation. There's 10 episodes in the first season, and Disney provided all 10 of those episodes to me early. And yes, I did get addicted to them. I did want to binge through all of them, and I wanted to see where the story was going to take us, because although this is from Marvel and there are some cues and some pseudo connections to the wider MCU, it's kind of going off in its own direction here. It's almost like a Spider-Man what if, and Peter Parker is surrounded by different variations of characters that you know from the comic books and the movies and other Spider-Man lore, and because of that, the show is kind of fresh feeling, even though it is evocative of some of the attitude and some of the kinetic qualities that we would find in the Spider-Verse movies, which are vastly superior. I think that's the biggest issue with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, is that we all know that these awesome Miles Morales movies exist out there, and their animation quality and their leap into Spider-Man lore is just so much more exciting. But I do like the look and the feel and the vibe of the show. They wanted to go with a Steve Ditko kind of art style. It reminded me a lot of Darwin Cook's New Frontier series, and there's a great animated movie from DC as well that has that kind of square jawline on everybody, some really dark line work as well. And the animation is pretty good in this show, but it does feel a little bit stiff and stilted. Not the swinging. There's obviously a lot of cool work with the swinging animations in this show. But I think my favorite thing with regards to animation is that it really adheres to the comic book aesthetic, and so we have panels that pop up and we jump between panels, and there's a lot of this kind of super heightened, crazy reality that happens in this comic book form, and I love that homage there. And I also like some of the tweaks to the plot lines as well, the new Otto Octavius that we get in here, the cameos from other Marvel heroes that do pop up in here. Of course, we've got new variations of Norman and Harry Osborn in the show as well, and I like the direction that we go with these characters. Norman Osborn actually becomes an ally for Spider-Man and helps him to kind of find the right suit for the character. And so, of course, then we do see a lot of inevitable Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man action figures that will obviously get made of Spider-Man in all these different suits. But they're cool, and it's a great sequence of him kind of finding his strength and his purpose. He's always got this idea that he's there to help people. Peter Parker's such an incredible character. Spider-Man is just so admirable, such an awesome, empathetic soul, and that's definitely exemplified with the show. It does feel like a lot of familiar territory with regards to building up the character and him finding his footing or his webbing to become the hero that he's supposed to be, and it does lead into a pretty good tease of what is to come with Season 2. I dig it. It definitely felt like to me, a spin-off of some of the themes and some of the ideas that are presented in What If, and I am a fan of the What If animated show. I just love that we get shows like this. It's obviously a fairly large budget show. It's got a lot of really cool professional polish, and it tips its hat to comic books in a great way, and the history of Spider-Man in a great way. And there's a lot of new, fresh stuff in this show as well. I recommend it. I'm going to give Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man an 8 out of 10. Now, something else I got to do not too long ago was get my hands on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft does this cool thing every once in a while where they let you virtually preview a game over the internet, so it's streaming into your home system. But it felt pretty damn good. I mean, it really is an impressive reality that we live in, where they can just beam the games to us to play in an early form like this. I remember having to wait for FedExes all the time for preview and review code, and now they could just press buttons and boom, I'm playing a game that I am excited for, and I can't wait to play the final form of this game. And it is fun. I definitely prefer Naoe's gameplay. She's the more stealthy, sneaky shinobi. She's got a grappling hook mechanic, which is a lot of fun. She does a lot more stealthy Assassin's Creed type kills of the enemies out there. And Yasuke is definitely much more of a tank, a much bigger brawler type character, and he can just hack and slash his way through things. But it feels so wrong to play Assassin's Creed like that. I just don't want that in the Assassin's Creed gameplay. I think it's solid, and it does create this nice disparity between the two different ways to play the game, but it just feels so hack and slashy and choppy and brutish. I guess we had a little bit of that with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but again, which I really loved. I love that game. It was too much, but I love that game. But I do really prefer to sneak into different headquarters and to sneak up on the bad guys and stab them before they know what the hell has happened, and use smoke bombs and all the cool tricks and tools that we know of these assassins. And so I did have fun playing the game. I did feel like the preview was overwrought with story bits. It felt like, okay, let's just get to it. That's the thing with these Assassin's Creed games. I think what they've done is they've given us so many different objectives to get to, plus overloaded us with story and all of this narrative that we have to get to, that it does become a little bit exhausting. And I think that really started to happen with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. All fantastic, massive RPGs with tons of fun content in there, but it just was overwhelming, and I liked the sort of stepping back a little bit with Mirage, but I felt that was a little thin. It's like they got to get the just right Mama Bear version of Assassin's Creed out for us, where it's just tuned properly. Maybe it's like a 15 or 20 hour experience and it's just tight. We go, go, go. Like at this point, we all know the sort of trappings of Assassin's Creed and how they send us back in time, and at least this time it's a different setting. We're in 16th century Japan. And it looks beautiful. I mean, the engine for this game series is outstanding. The aesthetics, the environments, the costumes, the outfits, the facial modeling, all of these cut sequences, it's a beautiful game. But of course, this game is rife with controversy, not just because it's a Ubisoft game and there's a huge pile-on sort of effort out there around Ubisoft and a lot of their titles. Some of it deserved, quite frankly, because they have taken some steps over the years that maybe weren't super gamer-friendly. But there is so much talent and so much good work, but Yasuke is a controversial figure because people are sort of really questioning how much he has to do with Japanese history and how they could focus in this game so much attention on an African-American samurai, and there's a lot of contention about his actual historical significance. And Ubisoft released a story trailer not too long ago on their YouTube channel, and they let the comments fly, and there is a lot of rage, man. Of course, we see a lot of rage out there on the internet anyways. I'm concerned about how this game is going to be received. I can tell you that playing it was fun. It was perhaps not as fun and fluid and gameplay leaning and focused as Ghost of Tsushima was, which I think is problematic. And I think lore-wise, it doesn't maybe ring as true as something like Shogun did, which I think is also problematic, because there's a lot of effort to kind of hit those authentic tones always with these Assassin's Creed games. And now we've got these juggernaut franchises with the Ghost games and Shogun, which was an award-winning, deservedly so, an amazing series to kind of contrast this game against. And so I don't know how it's going to do, but I did have fun, and I definitely am looking forward to sitting down and playing through the whole thing and seeing if it's going to envelop me and if I'm going to become obsessed with it and addicted to it, as I have with many, many Assassin's Creed games over the years. I just hope it's a great game, I hope it's a great game for Ubisoft and for all the developers at Ubisoft Quebec. You can see that there was a great deal of work and effort and ambition and optimism pumped into this game, and I hope it all comes together. But we'll know soon. It's coming out in March. And finally, let's talk a little bit about Xbox. They had the terrific Xbox Developer Direct last week, where they took us to studios in Montpellier. We went to Texas to go and visit id to talk about Doom: The Dark Ages, which looks absolutely phenomenal. I got an early peek at that as well, and we got to hear directly from Marty Stratton and Mick Gordon about the development of the game and how this sort of caps off all of this work that started with Doom 2016. We're going back. It's a prequel that's a lot more in your face. You're using a shield with saw blades on it to hack heads off of demons and stuff. It's incredibly visceral and violent and crazy, and I can't freaking wait. They announced the release date is going to be May 15th. Really psyched about that. Psyched for South of Midnight. We got to see into Compulsion Games in Montreal, I believe Compulsion is. Haven't been to that studio. I really want to go and visit those guys. But the game looks amazing. I love the kind of Spider-Verse-esque stop-motion kind of quality to the animation. I like the setting and the aesthetic and the magic powers and I think it's going to really be an engrossing experience. It looks like Compulsion leveled up with this game. They've made some cool stuff in the past, but I think this is really going to put this studio on the map. I think it's going to be one of the gems of 2025. And we also went to Montpellier, France to visit Sandfall Interactive, and Montpellier is kind of a hotbed for development. That's where Ubisoft Montpellier is. That was Michel Ancel started that studio out there. It's a college town, so there's a lot of young, smart people there. A beautiful city as well. Really, really lovely. And it looks like this game is a love letter to a lot of fantastic Japanese role-playing experiences out there. I love the aesthetic. I love the art in this game. There's some cool turn-based combat in it, and it just looks really freaking cool. Of course, this game is coming out to everything. It's not an Xbox exclusive. We're going to be playing Doom on other platforms as well, just like we always have, and it looks like probably South of Midnight is going to be on other platforms. They also showed off Ninja Gaiden 4, which was a massive surprise, and it looks freaking gorgeous, and it's being made by Platinum Games. That blew my head off. I cannot believe that Platinum gets to give us a Ninja Gaiden experience. I'm so psyched for that. And then they shadow dropped Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, remade using Unreal Engine. I've streamed some of that. I had such a great time with it. I was playing at normal difficulty, and I wasn't finding it all that difficult. So maybe the difficulty has been kind of balanced for you to kind of see the whole experience. There are harder difficulties, but I didn't dare try because the Ninja Gaiden games are known for being punishing, but beautiful and just filled with all kinds of beautiful and crazy variety in the experience. But that game is also going to be coming to other platforms as well. You could actually pick up Ninja Gaiden 2 Black on PlayStation as well if you wanted to, but it's part of Game Pass, which was great. So that was a great shadow drop to Game Pass. But then, since the excellent Developer Direct, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has been visiting with different creators out there, including Gamertag Radio, headed up by Danny Pena and Paris Lilly, and also Destin Ligari's channel as well, and telling people that yes, this third-party direction for Xbox is going to be a new direction for the business, and they're going to be publishing their games on other platforms. And I think they've kind of come out and said that all the way along. It feels like they've teased that direction for Xbox and possibly for Game Pass for a long time. It isn't a surprise for me. When you just start to total up the numbers and the billions and billions of dollars that Xbox has spent on all of these studios that have made games for multiple platforms, and also this Game Pass initiative, putting it on smart televisions, letting people stream stuff to their phones, doing a whole ad campaign where this is an Xbox, that's an Xbox. The only thing they stopped short on was putting up a Nintendo Switch or a PlayStation 5 and saying these are Xboxes as well. And that feels imminent. And it feels like every game that Xbox and Microsoft put money into is going to be published in as many places as possible. And that feels to me like that's always been the mission statement for this new iteration of Xbox, this new generation of Xbox. I think Phil has been quite candid that they can't compete on a dollars to dollars sort of market share war with the competition out there. And this is about engagement. This is an engagement game for Xbox and for Game Pass. They want more people in. And I frankly applaud that idea. I feel like there are so many gates and so many blockades put up for people to have access to game content out there. And it seems sillier and sillier, especially as we have so much noise to filter out to be able to get to great video games. I want people playing AAA and AA and indie experiences that are really worth their time and really valuable. And unfortunately, busy people out there don't have time to kind of figure out what platform to pick up and where this game is going to be and how can I get it and how much is it going to cost. And Xbox is trying to figure out ways to kind of make those decisions a lot easier for people. I feel like the ceiling on how many people video games are reaching, we're kind of bumping up against it, you know, based on sort of traditional models out there. And I think we have to shake it up. And it makes me also, and I've said this many times, it also makes me think of huge deals that console hardware manufacturers make around character licensing and stuff. Those seem so archaic, and we're so far beyond that. The fact that Spider-Man is locked to PlayStation and now PC, which is great, is so silly to me. This is a game, specifically the Insomniac Spider-Man games, that you could put in front of anybody. Talking about Spider-Man, I just reviewed the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man series in this episode, but Spider-Man is just so universal, and there shouldn't be a lock on that. That character in those games are so friendly for anyone. They should be available for everyone. You know, and I think Xbox is starting to think that way. Yes, it's business related. Yes, it's dollars and cents related, but it's not a shock. I mean, that's what Microsoft's whole empire is built on, is like giving people access to their OS, putting Windows on as many platforms as possible, making Word ubiquitous. That's what their whole agenda has been as a corporation. That's what they're doing with OpenAI as well. They're trying to influence. I mean, look at OpenAI's partnership with Apple. That's about mass engagement. And because we know Microsoft owns OpenAI, or is a huge investor in OpenAI. I mean, it makes sense to me. We'll see how this all shakes out. I know that there's a lot of loyalty and territorial kind of elements in video games. We've been well trained by the marketing teams at different game companies and hardware manufacturers for decades to feel loyal to one piece of hardware over the other. And of course, this always brings up the discussion around Nintendo, but Nintendo is a walled garden. You know, it's similar to Apple in a way. You enter the ecosystem, they try to provide you their characters and their apps and their games in a way that works for them. And they're very different. I feel like they exist as this silo in the video game industry. They've never been in this straight head-on-head kind of fight with the others out there. They don't make advertisements diminishing the other console manufacturer. It was never Nintendo coming out and saying Sega doesn't do this. As far as I can recall, it was always the brashness of the other corporations. PlayStation with Crash outside of the Nintendo headquarters and stuff, which is all great entertainment. Don't get me wrong, but Nintendo does their Nintendo way. Who knows if that lasts forever either? You know, if people can pick up any kind of screen or device and have access to, you know, video game content, maybe Nintendo has to think a little bit differently. I know that if Nintendo published some of their software, some of their video game software on smartphones or on PC or whatever, I mean, that would, imagine the amount of money that company would make if they started to do that. And I don't know if it's going to work for everybody. I don't know if it's going to work for Xbox, but it's not a shock to me. Are you shocked? Are you dismayed? Are you pissed off that it doesn't really feel like you need Xbox hardware anymore to have access to these Xbox games? Is it going to really burn you when we finally get Halo on PlayStation, which is something I think I predicted like 5 years ago? Like I just see that happening. But I also do predict that maybe one day down the road we're going to see Spider-Man on other platforms. Imagine Insomniac Spider-Man on Nintendo Switch 2 and how successful that would be and how much money that would bring to PlayStation. What would they have to lose to do something like that? And yes, I'm excited to play Indiana Jones again on PlayStation. I'm happy that that's happening. That's me, though. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. These are always changing days in the video game industry. It's one of the things that has kept me so energized to cover it and to talk about it. This business never stands still. It's always learning, it's always evolving, and it's always a blast to report on it. And so thank you very much for letting me do that. Thank you for supporting the channel, and thank you for hitting that subscribe button and for sharing this video with other people out there. Thanks for all the support. We will see you soon, and until then, play forever.